pasa? Que así también. Entonces, también por Facebook, ¿va? Hola amigos y amigas, aquí estamos en Cubaneando, con Víviam, María, muy contenta de tener en el estudio conmigo, directamente desde Valencia, a este gran vibrafonista, compositor, productor, además educador, Víctor Mendoza. Estamos justamente escuchando un tema maravilloso, bueno, se cumplen ya, más del año 94, se llama Cubanita. Ya les contaremos más quién se encuentra y además de eso, bueno, la trayectoria maravillosa de Víctor. Con los headphones, si no yo te modulo, pero como tú quieras. Mira a ver si se escucha. Creo que se escucha, ¿verdad? Por lo menos, y creo que le puedas subir el volumen a tu luz. Sí. Justamente se cumplen los 20 años este año, ¿no? O se cumplieron, ¿no?
Sí, ahora
de esta grabación.
Es la primera vez que me doy cuenta, ¿no?
Sí, cuando me mandaste la fecha dije, mira qué casualidad, ¿no? Qué rico. Bueno, ya tú me comentarás quién está en esta grabación, ¿no?
Solamente en Miami.
Tendrían
de este color, no. De este color es de auriculares. Solamente en Miami.
Él no conoce bien. Pero bueno, yo sé que él está muy conectado con Miami porque le gustan los frijoles negros.
Totalmente.
La pera, el cafecito quemado.
Eso sí, todo. Son los temas que están.
Exacto. Esa es otra cosa muy simpática, muy linda, ¿no? Que conecta mucho, bueno, muchos de los temas tienen esos títulos. ¿Ya pensaste en el nombre del disco?
Lo tenía y es que estaba vacilando con otra cosa.
Ajá.
Pero ya comentaré por qué.
Claro.
Pero sí, es tumbado y tostado. Sí, porque yo decía, yo me imaginaba un bajista de esto, así en la playa, quemándose, y está tumbado, pero y empieza, es un tumbado, está basado en un tumbado.
¿Qué bueno está eso? Bueno, esto es primicia mundial porque él se está develando aquí el nombre de su grabación que va a estar saliendo ya a finales de este verano, ¿verdad? Ya muy pronto, ¿no? Emoción. En exclusiva lo van a poder disfrutar los oyentes de Cubaneando, que escuchan por 88.9, pero también sé que están escuchando desde España, desde México, bueno, de Finlandia, Italia, por todos lados, ¿no? Qué bueno. Así que déjame, de hecho, revisar un momentico el Facebook, pero bueno, a ver, se me va saliendo por acá. Mira que bien, ya va contestando Luis Fontova. Saludos desde Los Ángeles, California.
De Chile, me acaban de escribir.
¡Ay, qué bien!
Dice, aquí estamos en la gozadera.
¡Ay, qué rico! También por Facebook Live están disfrutando de verlo por live. Sí, a veces lo más que Facebook bloquea el sonido porque dice que hay cosas copyright. Igual que me ha pasado con YouTube cuando lo hago online. Claro, hay protección, yo sé, para el autor y estos temas son tuyos, pero es una pena porque
pero por eso
está con el autor, o sea, And this is Cubaneando with Viviam. Maria, thank you so much, friends, for joining me on 88.9 FM in Miami, in South Florida, but all over the world at WDNA.org. And we're happy to have your company from many parts of the world. And I began Cubaneando with Dime que sí. It was Margarita Rollero y su conjunto, going back to the early 60s. And in fact, that song, Dime que sí, a composition of Agustín Lara, featuring Paquito Echavarria on the vibes and, of course, Margarita on the lead vocals. And right now, we just heard something that really connects a lot with me, none other than a song called Cubanita. And it was perfect for Cubaneando, because it's really my pleasure to introduce to you here on Cubaneando a special guest, Mexican vibraphonist, producer, composer, educator, Víctor Mendoza, whose music we were just enjoying now. Víctor, welcome to Cubaneando.
Thank you so very much. You're so very sweet, and thank you for this amazing to be here. First, to be in Miami is amazing, with my family, and also to be in Miami. Mm-hmm. And anyway, but also I had heard a lot about you and your show, and I said, I need to go there. I need to go meet them. Just because of everything that you do for this music.
Thank you very much for that. And we're very excited. In fact, what we just played right now is from your album called This Is Why. So incredible. It's this year's the 20th anniversary of this release, Cubanita, the track that we heard, that according to what you had mentioned, it's actually dedicated to a girl from Chihuahua. No?
Well, it was a joke because everybody, and Cubanita was just the title because I was, I've always been fascinated by Cuban music, mm-hmm. like everyone is, and I just wanted to, I wrote the piece, and also by the fact that I had the great, amazing Horacio Negro Hernandez, yes. who's a dear, dear friend, mm-hmm. and when you start playing with people like him, you learn about all these certain rhythms that you were not. Mm-hmm. I knew what they were, but he has this special way of mixing it with contemporary music in such a yes. special manner, Mm-hmm. So I was able to take that and write, and so I wrote this music with him in mind, and also with Oscar Stagnaro, great bass player, who also
from Peru.
and Darius Canasi on piano, and also and that's Jimmy Odgren, who played with Gary Burton for years, mm-hmm. also, and Ernesto Diaz on percussion. So it's the cream of the crop.
Yes, it is. And in fact, you mentioned that was Horacio's first album when he arrived, first recording when he arrived to USA.
That's what I understand. But, he was recording with so many people.
Right.
He had just been with Rubalcaba. He moved in from Italy.
Correct, yes.
And then when I met him, it was like...
And it was a great connection because his father in Cuba was a well-known radio personality, right. coming from the classics, and everything. So it's a great person to learn. But let's go back to another very important person in your life. I know your father, Don Antonio Mendoza.
Right.
He's a classical guitarist. And of course, perhaps was he the first one who put you through the steps of music, or how did it all happen for Victor?
Yes. He was when he was in Chihuahua as a musician, he had a big band, actually. Mm-hmm. And, so... and he studied like crazy. He was always reading, always studying, always learning all types of music. And he always told me, he said, don't let people define you. You define yourself, and you go out and study everything you want to study. You want to learn. Mm-hmm. And so, but he made me when he didn't make me. When I was about 11, I moved with him in New Mexico. He was already, my parents had separated. Mm-hmm. And he was living in Taos, New Mexico, playing at this restaurant, and he would take me with him, and I had to go and play maracas every time. And that's how it got started, Mm-hmm. So I learned the art of maraca playing, But it was very funny because, in those situations, people come and give you tips, etc. Yes. And I remember playing a bolero, and then some lady comes and then she gives him $20 and says, here, can you play Bésame Mucho? And I rolled my eyes and I said, oh, great, another bolero. It's not very interesting on maracas. And my father, I remember so vividly, he turned around to me and he says, so you want to be a musician, huh? Welcome. And then I realized that was the most important thing is that you have to satisfy your audience.
Yes.
You're playing there for them, and maybe you'll play one song for yourself, but the rest is for the audience.
And then I think eventually the more that you start learning your audience and the more that there's a connection, even later on we'll talk about you as an educator and the importance of really connecting with their culture and their background to really do a special way of teaching them, not just, everything that is not just, theory and that's it, but you really need to tailor it, if you may.
Right. Yes, very much so. And over time, it's what we do. And anyway, so and that's one of the things that as an educator, sometimes we play with when we play with just in general, the music that we play, the music that we teach, and there is a purpose. And a lot of times, I've been very aware of the fact that we have to have a sort of like a message, it's a positive message. It's not just write a song, you copy what's already out there. You want to have a purpose behind your music.
Yes.
And for me, being Latin, somebody asked me, I said, well, ¿qué eres tú? Because I travel a lot. And I said, soy mexicano de nacimiento y latino de corazón.
Oh.
So that's me, because that's what I have in common with all my dear friends from all over Latin America,
yes.
Cuba, Spain.
No, there's a connection. I mean, as you heard, the first song that I played was like a Latin jazz, Cuban jazz, from Agustin Lara, maybe, from classical Agustin Lara. So we're all connected. Music, makes us all be together, and everything that is done with love, you can tell, you can feel it. Now, mentor. So we're talking about your father. We're talking, and also another one, of course, when it comes to the vibes. How do you then begin with this beautiful instrument, and then it all connects also with like the great Gary Burton, which I know who was a teacher for you. But then there's also great memories with him.
it was great, because again, the first time I heard the very first time I heard vibes, and I said, this is it, this is my life. It was Milt Jackson. It was like, oh my God, it was like God sending me a message.
Yes.
And then, I had the great pleasure of studying with Gary Burton, and he was so very sweet. He was very generous. And he, I think I took maybe 5 lessons from him. And then he told me, he says, Victor, just go out and play. And it was very sweet. And another great teacher was Dave Samuels. I took some lessons from him. And also I had in the classical area, I had Marx Holmgren. She was very instrumental in my discipline, for classical music and contemporary music. And so with all that in mind, I had it's amazing how all these musicians influence you, and it's not necessarily just from the vibes. It was a way of transferring that information to your instrument. Also, Seferino Nandayapa, who was a great Mexican marimba player, he was another like a very, very important musician. But you sort of pick up things, by listening to them, and you sort of like, what do they say? You steal it, and then you dedicate it to them, as Paquito would say.
Exactly, right.
and so I have
Because and friends, my special guest today, I'm very, very happy all the way, originally from Chihuahua, Mexico, but living in Valencia and visiting Miami. He has, family here in Miami. And we are excited to have the great Víctor Mendoza. We presented to you music from that album, This Is Why, but we're going to take now a traveling time as well. And as we're discussing here, as we're chatting here, we're getting the music ready. And this is what, like jazz, right? It's all improvisation. Yeah. It's like, boom.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're very excited as well that you're going to be releasing a new album now in summer. So I wanna, perhaps we can play some of that. Let's see, some of that music from that album that's coming up, and then we'll continue here. Preparing the music of that other album, which I know that you mentioned has Paquito de Rivera, Claudio Roditi, and so forth.
Yeah,
right?
some of the musicians from Valencia, people probably know in Valencia there are incredible brass players, horn players, and my challenge was trying to find my Latin rhythm section, my Cubans, my Puerto Ricans, my Mexicans, to put them in there, and then put my what do you call it, my Spanish brass player, and it's a beautiful combination, and that's why I want to do this. And then I'm, like I said, still in the process of recording, but it'll be done.
Yes, and we're super excited, friends, because this is really a premiere, a world exclusive, at least for Cubaneando, that we're presenting to you this music. It is not out yet, but Victor wanted to, of course, share with our listeners worldwide. So this one, for example, and I know you mentioned, well, your father being a musician, but also a painter, right?
Right,
and I'm seeing this beautiful track called Blue Picasso. Maybe you think of him as
well. Well, it's funny because I've learned, I grew up with paint and art around me, and so did my sons, and especially my younger son, my older son, Alex, is here, who's also a composer, producer, and also my younger son, Jonathan, who you probably might have heard him in Antonio Sanchez. There's an album called Lines in the Sand.
Yes.
There's a poet. That's Jonathan, my other son. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, but he also was a very big fan of Picasso. When we were in Barcelona, he loved when we went to the museum. So I dedicated the it was a combination of my father and my son, and I dedicated that one to him because I already had written one for Alex called Alexito, which you will hear on the other, and This Is Why album. There's a tune called Alexito, and that was for my son. Here.
Oh, how beautiful. Here it is, Blue Picasso. I'm going in. Algo pasa que me dice, ese es airdrop, and entonces ahora me da un poquito de miedo quitar los sonidos. When we come back from the break, entonces podemos quitar y poner, tenerlo listo ahí, podemos tocarlo aquí, ¿verdad? Porque el problema es que si ahora no se quita, pues que les va a dar.
Sí, ese es 13. Oh, yeah.
¿No ha probado darle play? Para saber si sucede.
Sí, está en copy en WhatsApp.
Sí, lo que pasa es que vamos a tratar de ver si no me quita la música. Yo creo que está saliendo al aire. Si ahora cuando tomamos el break, puedo de lo que viene y lo que voy a tocar un minutito. Tiene sondita española también, todo.
Sí, y curiosamente eso es que Israel Sandoval, que toca con todo el mundo, el flamenco pop, con el barrio, ¿conocen ese grupo de pop? Él es el guitarrista, es muy amigo mío. Y guitarrista fantástico, y hemos grabado ya varios temas también que van a salir. Y ahí está Joel Páez tocando batería. Que es una risa conmigo. Una vez, es que estábamos en Berkeley, se presenta con 2 aguacates así. Víctor, ¿y eso? Te lo trajo mi esposa.
No, me dice Nef, aprovecha y hazle que Víctor te va a hacer muchos cuentos simpáticos. Sí. Así que te traje los aguacates.
Sí, los aguacates. Mira, vamos a hacer un guacamole. Pero no lo pongas picante, que soy cubano.
Ay, qué cómico. No, me dice Nef también de otra canción también que dice que con Antonio Sánchez, que Dios mío, no puedo tocar esto porque no se para. Que también, que tú te caíste del stage.
Sí.
Ay, pero eso no está cómico, no, eso no.
No, era cómico. No, me caí porque estábamos en Costa Rica. Y bueno, para empezar, fuimos en una mañana a la playa y de repente Antonio Sánchez sale corriendo y hace marometa, sí.
Eso me dijo como...
Y nos quedamos, y digo, ¿y eso? Y dice, así, y dice, es que él estaba en el equipo nacional de México de gimnasia, y yo no sabía. Yo, wow. Bueno, esa noche vamos a tocar. En eso le decía a los chicos, por favor, no me apagan la luz, que está. Y me habían puesto un monitor, yo no lo sabía, no lo había visto. Entonces está oscuro.
Ay, pobrecito.
Y me caí. Estaba junto al micrófono y ¡pum! Están 3 cámaras de televisión así enfrente de mí. Y toda la gente, sí, y toda la gente, está bien. Sí. Digo, es que quería hacer lo que hace Antonio. Y me dice Antonio, ¿qué? Digo, ven acá. Y lo sube. Ponte al frente del escenario y digo, haz lo que hiciste esta mañana. Estás loco. Digo, hágalo por favor. Hace la mano. Y todo el mundo, wow, bravo. Y dice, oye, qué bien se lo prepararon todo esto. Le digo, ¿quiere ver el moretón que tengo aquí? Muy loco. Me han pasado cosas a mí.
Sí.
Pero...
Ahí comentaremos algo. Voy mencionando algunos detalles. We are enjoying Blue Picasso, and we are enjoying Blue Picasso and Victor. So, tell us about some of the players that are here featured on this one.
Well, of course, the great Paquito de Rivera.
Yes.
And also, and this one is also Ivan Melon Luis, which everybody knows him. Also, Abelito Sanabria, incredible bass player. It's also Sebastián Laverde, very, very talented musician and producer. And also, also Carlos Martin. You all probably know who he is. You know, works with Alejandro Sanz. And there's Boro Garcia also, and Javi Berchet also. And so, and those are my people, you know, so, and myself, you know. But and of course, Joel Paez on batería, on drums.
Okay, off the air, you were telling me, well, this, of course, vamos a estar salpicando esto con un poco de humor, ¿no? Porque siempre hay esos buenos recuerdos con Joelito, ¿no?
Es una risa con él. And you know, it's just the energy that he brings on stage, you know. It's very infectious, you know. And we're in the middle of a song, and we just start laughing at the end. We're going, ¿qué pasó ahí? No sé qué pasó. Yo qué sé. pero gozamos, ¿no? Sí, ahí está.
And the time in the studio que te trajo algo, Joelito.
De avocados. Me dice, mira lo que te trajo mi esposa, unos aguacates allá. Sí. Y me dice, puedes hacer un guacamole, pero no le pongas picante, que soy cubano. You know, so
Friends, you're listening to Cubaneando with Viviam, María, my special guest, Víctor Mendoza, presenting you brand new music from a recording that indeed, as I guess I said, is a premiere because it will not be out until the end of the summer. So we're excited that Victor brought it to share with us. And when we come back, we're going to go back in time to another wonderful album from his first album. And we'll talk more about it right after this. Keep it locked where you got it.
As a parent, there are many things to think about related to health and healthcare coverage. Florida Connecting Kids to Coverage can help parents access health insurance from Florida Kid Care or Medicaid and offers health insurance options for kids 18 and younger. For families with uninsured children looking for help with enrollments or finding the right plan, you can call Florida Connecting Kids to Coverage at 813-591-0320 or visit FloridaConnectingKidsToCoverage.com.
Listen to WDNA anywhere you go. Download the WDNA app on the App Store for Apple users and the Google Play Store for Android users. With the WDNA app, you can tune in to live broadcasts, discover upcoming local events, watch the latest jazz gallery performances, explore past playlists, stay up to date with the album of the week, catch up on the BBC news headlines, make donations, and much, much more.
Qué nerviosa. Yo sé que perdóname que me levanté porque quería tener la música lista para cuando... ¿Qué, mi amor? Ay, persona. Espérate. Ups. Ah, no, está bien. Bueno, amigos, saludando. A ver, tenemos a Luis Fontova desde Los Ángeles, Lemay Ramos, saludos, Bernice Mirabal, Santiago Oms, también saludos y felicidades por hermoso programa. Muchísimas gracias, amigos y amigas. Sigan enviando sus mensajes y cualquier pregunta que tengan para Víctor, que va a estar con nosotros a toda la hora.
88.9 FM. WD.
And this is Cubaneando with Viviam, Maria. Such a joy to have you. And I'm here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 88.9 FM in South Florida. But if you're listening from all over the world, you can enjoy it at WDNA.org or the replays of this and all shows on Mixcloud.com. And you just search for Viviam Maria. And again, my pleasure to have here with me this Mexican vibraphonist, producer, composer, educator, Víctor Mendoza, sharing with you new music, also going back in time with memories and special times that Victor, one thing when I want to send a very warm hug to a dear friend of us, Nef Irizarry.
Oh, Nefito, sí.
Sí, Nefito, who is in Italy now, but he lives in Finland, right? A great guitarist.
Well, he was in Finland, now he's in Riga,
Awesome.
at Letonia, yeah. And he's trying to make the thing work over there, the Latin. He's fighting big time.
Good. He's super talented, and
his book is fantastic.
His book is fantastic. In fact, he's doing his volume number 2 that's coming out now, and we connected also because the Maestro Juanito Marquez, one of the last living legends, who's here in Miami, and he's going to be 95 on July 4th. He's so happy because I know he's part of both books. And Nef mentioned, lots of great stories and everything. And one thing that I really like is, your importance when it comes to, in Latin music and Latin jazz. And the reason why many Latin jazz musicians of recent generations call you Los Hijos de Mendoza.
Yeah.
I thought that was so sweet.
Yeah, that was a term. It was Renato Toms, percussionist. He's in New York working with everybody. And he said, otro hijo de Mendoza, They would come and study. And they were all very, very dedicated, very true to the music. They knew what they had to do in terms of studying it, and so that they started calling, there are a bunch of them all over the place, that went through my ensembles at Berkeley, and they were very serious people. And so I would take them under my wing because I also needed them. I wanted hot musicians,
Yes.
and so I had the pleasure of having them, work with me, and I learned from them. It comes a point where they become your teachers.
Yes, and I know that's one thing, when you talk about teaching, and I know that, it's very important when you said, over the years, I came to understand the virtues of the art of teaching. So when you're talking about, knowing how the music that you love has impacted another person and also seeing its influence on them. And also you says, I teach for the love of learning. So again, you're saying here, you're teaching, but you're learning what you just mentioned right now. And one more thing that I really want to quote on you, that you said, at the root of it, sharing knowledge is one of the purest forms of understanding life.
Yes, that to me, I think it's something that I learned through my teachers and my father especially, and I know he would, and it's very subtle, it's not always so like sit down, we'll do this. It's very subtle, but and my mother also, sometimes what I learned from her was that I learned to observe color, because she would say, oh, look at this blue, and etc. And my father did another thing because he also being a painter. So I had the joy from both of them. But I remember that he gave me a pencil and he said, start drawing with this. So I did, and I said, but Dad, it's only black.
Right.
He goes, no, find the shades in between. And so I started looking at the grays, and then I started making a connection with harmony, and how thick, if you're talking about a string quartet, how thick, how dense, it's fascinating. It's never ending, so that's why it's something that art is very, very important to me.
Yes, and all art forms, when they all combine, they all have so much to do one with the other. So we're gonna go. We'll continue. Traveling through work as a soloist and the concerts that you've done and things like that. But there's one more track to present to our friends now. In this case, let's talk about this one that is from your very first album, right? From your first album. Let's get it all set up for folks to know more what they're going to listen to now.
And which is
that tortilla?
At the tortilla factory. Right. Everybody says, why do you always talk? My mother said, what do you always title? ¿Por qué le ponen nombre de comida? Sí. So, Mama, because we're always hungry, But and was I said, well, yeah, we write songs and we hope to make enough money to buy tortillas, But the thing about this one piece was that I had the great honor and pleasure of having the amazing Claudio Roditi, and he was in part mentor, and also he taught me many things about Brazilian music, phrasing, etc. Also, he happened to be my Alex's godfather, my son, and lovely human being. But also, as anybody who's in jazz knows, what a fantastic musician he was, and very sadly we lost him. And the other person was on this one. It's Danilo Perez when he was 19 years old. Wow. And so you get to hear him. And Danilo was already, above and beyond. And also the Oscar Stañaro. And so and so anyway, so that's why with and Robbie Gonzalez is on drum on this one, So
perfect. The year and where you recorded this?
This one was let me see, 90. That wasn't maybe the same. No, that was before.
Right.
That was before. That must have been 90, maybe.
Excellent. Yeah. And this was recorded
in Boston.
In Boston.
Yeah, they were all there, and it was hysterical because both, Paquito and I had them both, but I said, Paquito, I want you to, behave in the street, So
good luck.
Yeah, he was so funny. He's hysterical. Yes, but all in all is again, I tried to mix. One of the things was that Claudio kept telling me, he says, you're not using the conventional harmony, etc. And I said, because also I half of me came from jazz, the other half was Latin, so and that was it, and I try to combine it the way I heard it, so it's my way, my take on this.
Oh, lovely. Let's enjoy it. Here it is on Cubaneando. Mira lo que acabo de escribir. Acabo de escribir esto ahora mismo. Mira eso, y aquí está. Con Mendoza se goza. Lo acabo de escribir para que cuando terminamos decir, la verdad que con Mendoza se goza. Miren cómo estamos conectados. ¡Qué belleza! Gracias.
Gracias. Beautiful.
Para Willy. Qué lindo. Wow, beautiful. Ay, gracias. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. Qué rico. ¿Esto es de álbum? No, del álbum otro, de If Only You. Podemos ver un poquito que van a comentar sobre estos conciertos últimos y aprovechar también que las personas que te sigan, que estén pendientes, o sea, que follow social y todo eso. Bueno, sí es cierto que con Mendoza se goza. Wonderful. Well, we don't have, except those of you who are watching on Facebook and YouTube Live, you can see a beautiful T-shirt that Will and I got as a gift. Thank you so much. Beautiful T-shirt, and you will see me modeling it. Qué rico estaba eso, Victor. I love it. This is from the album If Only You Knew, which, both of those albums have been praised by international critics. I know that, the Black Bean Blues that we have played earlier was named one of the best recordings of the year by Modern Drummer magazine. And also was featured at the Smithsonian, right at the production, the Latin Jazz, The Perfect Combination.
That's right.
As well. And of course, there's, great reviews as well in Jazz's magazine. So there's a lot, friends, that you can go online, and when you search for Víctor Mendoza, you'll certainly find lots of resources, information, and your webpage, victormendoza.com.
Exactly.
As well.
Yes.
They can get the albums, they can see what you're doing, those new projects that are going to come out, samples as well. If they want to follow you also on social media, of course, the same easy Mendoza Vibe. Right?
Yeah, Mendoza Vibe, right.
Mm-hmm, correct. And of course, if you want to reach out to him for lectures and so forth, you'll also be able to find easily the way to connect with him through the email or, again, through a message, internal message. So be sure to check it out, Víctor Mendoza. And Victor, the new, we did speak about this album from 1990. Now, when we're talking about, for example, performances that you have done as a soloist or, in recent concerts. I know recently you were performing, you went to Japan and Korea, Taiwan in the Jazz Festival, which had an audience of more than 100,000 spectators.
Exactly. That was pretty crazy. It's mind-blowing, to see, when you start playing and you get into the, our Latin thing, and then all of a sudden you see 100,000 people dancing. And you're going, gozando. And to see them, and it's really an amazing experience, and you say, okay, I guess my job is done.
It worked.
It worked. Thank you.
Mommy, it worked. You see?
You were right.
You were right with Bésame Mucho.
Yeah, the whole thing. So yeah, and then the last thing that I did was in Madrid with a fantastic orchestra from these are young musicians from the Escuela Superior de Música Reina Sofía in Madrid,
yes.
Which they are like they were considered like probably the top in the world, one of the top, along, with Juilliard in this school. And they have a fantastic situation there. They're brilliant young musicians, and the professors that come from all over, all over Europe and all in South America, Americas, it's just really fantastic. So anyway, and I think they will put up the video from that. yeah, so they're and so I'm dancing between, with the classical musicians as well as the and working on this other album. I was so busy running the master's program at Berkeley that I was not able to. I kept saying, well, if I record it, when am I going to be able to promote it and travel and all that? So I said, okay, as soon as I'm done at Berkeley, I'm going to go and do it. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just composing, and my son Alex says, finish those songs. You got to do them.
You got great inspiration. Another, the wonderful musical vein in the family and artistic vein through your other son as well. So all of you feeding off each other, right? Inspiration from each other, which is important. Also, I know there was one time also that you played it was featured with an 85-piece orchestra or something to that effect. I had read somewhere as well. 85-piece Banda de Puerto in Valencia,
yes,
Spain.
In Valencia, yes, that one. It's in Valencia. If people don't know, they have an incredibly beautiful tradition of banda. It's the wind ensemble, and this is like almost, so I would consider orchestral, and they are fantastic. They're really amazing. That's why there's so many great brass players that come out of there, clarinet players. They're amazing.
Yes.
And and I played with my quintet, and the orchestra, and it's just beautiful. We repeated some of that repertoire in Argentina with the Orchestra de la Patagonia.
Yes.
And we're going to be recording it.
Okay.
So that's going to be it. So I have to come back and record it with some of my people here, and then use some of the orchestra musicians from over there. And it's very beautiful. So it's like bolero. I have one bolero, for example, with orchestra, which is
tiene que ser un sueño.
It's very pretty. The orchestration is by Dario Eskenazi, and it's just gorgeous.
Qué bien, Victor. No, me encanta. And also when it comes to other broadcast appearances that you've done, for example, including Víctor Mendoza in concert and All American Jazz on PBS Television, Kaleidoscope on BBC Radio. So it's so important as well in every, not just, live performances, but that people can really enjoy these. Of course, your YouTube channel.
Right.
Also, you have things that you have done when it comes to as an educator as well, right? Because they want to follow those things as well.
Yeah, and it's very important. It's amazing what has happened over the past. The rate at which the exposure to music has happened, it's a little crazy, and sometimes it's overwhelming. But I always tell everybody, take time, go home, put an album, an LP, get yourself a little lemonade or something, and then just listen, just for a moment, give yourself that break to listen to a radio station. And that's why I think podcasts are great, because you can actually just like listen, and you're not being so distracted. But in terms of music, there's so much music out there, and you're wondering like, how do I take in all this information? And that's why this is a fantastic show, because this is what you're gonna get here. You're gonna come in there, you're gonna get your rice, your beans, and everything is all right here porque se está cocinando aquí. You know what I mean?
True, exactly. No, exactly.
But it's beautiful. The music that I've heard on the station is all the other programmers also very, very nice, very tasteful.
Everything from the classics, to the opening doors for a new generation of players. Also here are the live performances at the station that students can come and perform and watch. Very closely to them. Professional musicians. So all of that is part of this great mission that the station has, and every show. We have our own styles because we bring our own flair, if you may, but I think it all has, the same line of thinking or way of thinking too.
No, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's so important because people such as yourself, that you can guide those who are not familiar with certain styles or certain musicians, but because you're in the know. And sometimes, people, if they're working all day long, they don't have time to research everything.
Correct.
And like I said, because there's so much music out there, you don't know where to begin.
Exactly.
But you're telling them where to begin.
Right. Good. And sometimes it's hard if they tell me, what's your favorite? Give me 10. I can't say 10. I have a lot more to tell you of my favorite. But it's a good thing. And I think it's important that we continue, again, teaching the newer generations this music. One thing that I really love is that you're also very respectful of tradition.
Yes.
So you that's the basis of everything for you, and then you absorb, you listen a lot, and you incorporate everything from the jazz, the Latin jazz, Brazilian, the classical music, and of course you're listening also to, and like you said, to your students and learning from them,
right,
and transforming. Every day is a new. You're inspired by different things, so you'll get always to hear the real essence of Victor Mendoza is.
Yeah, and the beauty about the young minds, it's for me, it's always been fascinating to listen to them because they're hearing something different. They hear with different ears, and I want to know what they're. Exactly. I want them to teach me because they have something else to offer, and that's the beauty of art in general.
Great word, Victor, and thank you. As we're coming to the last few moments of Cubaneando, I want to thank you for the time, for the visit, the beautiful music, of course, these great gifts, and the gift of music, of course, and having both of you here as well on such a special night. And presenting this music, como digo, exclusiva, because really people can enjoy it before it even is released. And I think you had mentioned, we were thinking of the name of the album, y dijiste, estoy pensando que voy a determinar algo, and I think you have, do we reveal the name? Or we keep it?
Let's keep it because there's, you know what I did, just real quick story. Yes. In Valencia, there's a section called El Cabañal, which is right next to the, what do you call it, the beach. And there's a market. And when you go buy anything, they always talk to you with such sweetness. They say, cariño, quiero unos tomatitos. Mira, mi amor, cariño. And they always talk like this. But then I noticed that they sing when they talk. So one time I did something that I did sort of like illegal, maybe. But I recorded it. But I took it home. And I started transcribing the way they sing certain things. And I started writing songs. So my plan is to do another album. Which that one I can tell you is Songs of El Cabañal, but I want to dedicate it to the people there because they are it's just very beautiful, and it's just songs, but you sing, mixed with bolero, flamenco with the Latin American music and vibes, and then I know so many great musicians, some vocalists that I want to. And that's going to be my next project after I finish this.
Bueno, so we want to, again, friends, be sure to go and search victormendoza.com. Be on the lookout for all this wonderful new music and all the new projects and where he's going to be. Follow to be sure that you don't miss anything. And Victor, well, any final words before we depart? Because, time flies when you're having fun, and we're having so much fun that has flown easy and faster.
It's amazing. Yeah, it was quickly. No, it's just that. Thank you so very much. I hope to come back to Miami many times. I hope to see everyone here, and thank God for my son and that my daughter-in-law and can I say it?
Yeah.
And we have a little one coming for September.
Wow! This is really a night of noticias. Oh, felicidades!
Yeah, and it's so I'm gonna have my own Miami granddaughter.
So we'll have more Victor here in Miami. Bueno, y vas a tener un dulcecito de pera.
Oh yeah, that's what it is, and
I want to play in the background because I know as we're coming to the last few moments, I want to play that one in the background because it's also another from your new album that's coming up, right? Dulce de pera, it's a vocal track.
Yeah, it's the only song, an actual song. I've never written lyrics, and I just did this while I was in Argentina. It's dedicated to the people of Roca, Argentina. Mm-hmm. And this is, again, Marcos Lopez is playing percussion. He plays with everybody in New York. And Fernando Huergo, great bass player also. And the singer is Peter Connolly. He's actually half Valenciano, half Irish. And he sings beautiful. He's a great electric jazz guitar player. Anyway, all in all, but this is, and you'll hear it. We're gonna upload this one because, and it's called Dulce de Pera.
Dulce de Pera. Thank you, Willie.
Willie, thank you so much.
Un placer.
My friends, enjoy, and I'll be back with more Cubaneando next Wednesday. No nos va a dar tiempo de ir el tema completo, pero lo voy a poner la semana próxima, entonces lo pongo completo. Porque la bebé se entra automática.
Sí. La cantante se me olvidó mencionar, es mi hijastra.
Yo te iba a preguntar quién era ella, pensé que estaría, ay, qué bien.
Pero bueno. Mucha información.
Sí, yo sé, queríamos cubrir muchas cosas y también poner música, y como cubrimos varios álbumes, porque primero pensé, no sabía si iba a ser solamente de esta, así que fue perfecto porque pudimos cubrir bastante, conversar cosas, pero bueno, tenemos ese espacio para otro programa futuro. Y nada, contentísima de bueno, y sé que las personas van a seguir escribiendo, manden sus mensajes porque siempre nos llegan después de que ha cerrado la transmisión, pero vamos a estar comentando cualquier pregunta que tengan, aprovechen también para hacerla y Víctor pues la contestará, y no se olviden de buscar toda la maravillosa música de Víctor Mendoza.
Muchas gracias.
No tenemos que hacer la foto, espérate.
Sí.
Vamos ahora que hacernos saber. Si quieres